The galaxy was vast, teeming with species that lived in harmony, conflict, and everything in between. Among these species, none were as feared or misunderstood as humans. They were latecomers to the interstellar stage, but their rapid rise to prominence left an impression on every species that encountered them. The NIGMA Empire, a proud and technologically superior race, didn't take kindly to humans. Arrogant in their millennia of dominance, they saw humanity's rise as a threat that needed to be crushed. We warned them, we told them, do not mess with humans, but they didn't listen. It started small skirmishes on the outskirts of NIGMA space. Human colonies on the fringes reported strange attacks on marked ships, sudden disappearances, and unexplained sabotage. The United Terran Federation (UTF) investigated and, without a doubt, traced the incidents back to the NIGMA. Diplomatic envoys were sent, peace talks were proposed, and humanity, ever so diplomatic, extended an olive branch. The NIGMA, however, laughed in their faces. "We are the NIGMA Empire," their leader declared on the Galactic Council floor. "You humans are mere infants compared to us. Your rise is nothing but a blip in the cosmic scale, one that we will soon erase." Despite their bluster, we still gave them a chance. Humans are known for their adaptability, but perhaps even more so for their restraint. We warned the NIGMA once again, do not mess with humans. They saw it as weakness. They took our warning as a sign of fear. And so, they launched their attack. It was swift, brutal, and utterly devastating, or so they thought. NIGMA fleets descended on human worlds, confident in their overwhelming firepower. They obliterated cities, scorched entire continents, and enslaved those who survived. They had no idea that they had just unleashed humanity's true nature. The retaliation wasn't immediate. That's not the human way. We strategize, we plan, and we strike when the moment is right. When the counterattack came, it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It started with the fall of NIGMA Prime, the jewel of the Empire. The NIGMA thought their homeworld was untouchable, protected by shields, planetary defenses, and their infamous fleets. But when the UTF's dreadnoughts arrived, they brought weapons the NIGMA had never seen before: gravity distorters that turned their atmosphere into a crushing void, EMP waves that disabled their planetary shields in an instant, and nanotech swarms that devoured their cities piece by piece. The NIGMA scrambled to defend themselves, but for every move they made, humanity had already anticipated 10 more. Their fleets were rendered useless as human AI systems hijacked their ships, turning their own weapons against them. Their ground forces were met by advanced human soldiers in exosuits, moving faster and stronger than anything the NIGMA could muster. It wasn't just where, it was a lesson. Within weeks, the NIGMA's once proud empire was reduced to rubble. Their colonies were liberated, their fleets destroyed, and their leaders brought to trial. But the most haunting part of the human assault wasn't the technology, or even the sheer military might, it was the precision. Humanity didn't wage war blindly. They systematically dismantled every piece of the NIGMA Empire, ensuring there would be no recovery. They wiped out their databases, erased their history, and crippled their infrastructure. And when the humans were done, they left the NIGMA with a single message: "We warned you." Now, the NIGMA are a footnote in history, once the most feared species in the galaxy, now nothing more than a cautionary tale told to children of other races. The Galactic Council remembers the event, not as a war, but as a reminder of humanity's potential for destruction when provoked. Humans returned to their worlds, not with celebration, but with the quiet understanding that they had done what was necessary. The NIGMA Empire, with all their arrogance and power, had made a fatal mistake. They underestimated humans. We tried to warn them. Now, they're extinct. Humans may be kind, diplomatic, and patient, but when pushed too far, they remind the galaxy of one simple truth: don't mess with us. Decades passed since the fall of the NIGMA Empire. The galaxy moved on, as it always does. New alliances were formed, new rivalries blossomed, and the United Terran Federation continued to grow in strength and influence. Yet, the memory of the NIGMA's extinction lingered like a shadow over every interstellar council meeting and trade negotiation. The lesson was clear: humans were not to be trifled with. But for some, The memory of the NIGMA wasn't just history, it was unfinished business. Captain Layla Morgan of the UTF's exploratory fleet stared at the silent, broken world before her. NIGMA Prime, once the heart of a mighty empire, was now a dead planet. Its once bustling cities, buried under layers of dust and decay. The atmosphere was barely breathable, the remnants of human-engineered viruses still lingering in the air. It had been 30 years since the UTF had sealed the NIGMA's fate, and yet something had drawn Layla and her crew here, back to the place where the human race had cemented its fearsome reputation. Scans are showing nothing but ruins. Her first officers, Commander Park, reported no signs of life, just like the records say. Layla narrowed her eyes. Double-check the readings. I've got a feeling about this place. There was silence as the crew ran their scans again. The NIGMA had been wiped out, yes, but whispers in the far reaches of space spoke of survivor-shidden remnants of the once great empire, plotting revenge from the shadows. I don't like it, Park said quietly, glancing over at her. This place, it feels wrong. Layla couldn't shake the same feeling. It was as if the planet itself was watching them, waiting for something. She had seen the footage of the war of humanity's methodical destruction of the NIGMA's world. It had been necessary, she told herself, but still, something gnawed at her. Captain, the sensor officers interrupted, his voice shaky. We've got a ping, it's faint, but there's something down there. Layla felt her heart skip a beat. Send a probe, I want visuals. A few minutes later, the probe's feed flickered onto the screen. The crew leaned in, tense. The camera swept over crumbled buildings and vast wastelands, the ghost of what had once been a thriving civilization. And then, the probe stopped. In the middle of a ruined city stood a lone figure, a NIGMA. It shouldn't have been possible. They were extinct. The entire galaxy knew it, but there it was, a tall, thin creature, its skin the same dark, shimmering hue as the NIGMA from decades ago. It stood still, facing the probe, as if waiting for them to make the first move. How the hell? Park breathed. Get us closer, Layla ordered, her mind racing. I want to know what's going on down there. The landing was tense. Layla, Park, and a small team of Marines stepped onto the cracked surface of NIGMA Prime, weapons ready but not raised. The figure remained where it had been, unflinching as they approached. When they were just a few feet away, it finally spoke. You came back. Its voice was raspy, almost mechanical. Layla tightened her grip on her weapon. We thought your kind was extinct. The figure's ice-cold and calculating focused on her. You tried to erase us, but we NIGMA are not so easily forgotten. Park shifted uneasily beside her. You're the last one? No, the figure replied. We are many. We have been hiding, rebuilding, and soon, we will rise again. Layla felt a chill run down her spine. We destroyed your worlds, your fleets, everything. The galaxy thought you were gone. You destroyed what you could see, the NIGMA said, its voice growing darker. But we hid, we learned, we adapted, just as you humans did, and now we are more than we were before. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't just the last remnants of a dying race. This was something far more dangerous. What do you want? Layla demanded, cutting through the tension. The NIGMA tilted its head, as if considering her question. We want what you humans took from our empire, our pride, our existence, and we will have it. Layla felt the weight of those words. The NIGMA were patient, just as humans had been. They had waited in the shadows, rebuilding, growing stronger, but what they had become in their exile was a mystery, and now they were ready to make their move. You won't win, she said, her voice steady despite the fear creeping up her spine. The galaxy won't let you. The NIGMA's lips curled into a cold smile. The galaxy will have no choice. The humans taught us that war isn't about strength, it's about who strikes first. And with that, the figure vanished, dissolving into thin air as if it had never been there at all. Back on the ship, the crew was silent. The implications of what they had just witnessed weighed heavily on them. The NIGMA weren't extinct. They were alive, lurking in the dark, waiting for their chance to reclaim what they had lost. Layla sat her day in the captain's chair, staring out into the void. The UTF had warned the NIGMA not to mess with humans, and the NIGMA had paid the price. But now it seemed that humanity's greatest enemy had returned, smarter and more dangerous than before. "We warned them," she muttered under her breath, "but they're back." The war wasn't over, it had only just begun. The United Terran Federation didn't take long to respond. As soon as Captain Layla Morgan's report reached High Command, the UTF war machine roared to life once more. The galaxy had thought the NIGMA Empire was a thing of the past, a relic of human strength and ruthlessness. Now, whispers of their resurgence sent shockwaves through every major system. Fear spread quickly. An ancient enemy, once thought to be defeated, had not only survived but had grown in the shadows, evolving in ways no one could predict. The UTF called it Operation Exodus mission to root out the NIGMA from wherever they hid and end the threat for good. Layla stood aboard the bridge of the UTF Resolute, staring at the tactical display. Fleet after fleet was being mobilized, ships streaking across the star maps toward suspected NIGMA hideouts. Every corner of space was being scoured, every ancient battlefield revisited. Still, there was no solid trace of them. The figure they'd encountered on NIGMA Prime was the only clue they had, and it had vanished without a trace. "Captain," Commander Park spoke quietly from her side, "we've got reports coming in from the outer colonies. Strange activity, fleets going dark, communications down. Whatever they're planning, it's happening fast." Layla's jaw clenched. She had hoped they had more time, but the NIGMA clearly had other plans. They weren't going to wait for the UTF to strike first. This was going to be a fight for survival for the entire galaxy. "Alert the fleet," she ordered. "Full combat readiness. If they think they can catch us off guard, they're in for a surprise." It happened all at once. The NIGMA struck with a vengeance, launching coordinated attacks across multiple systems. Planets fell into chaos as they unleashed their new, terrifying technology-cloaked ships that phased in and out of existence, bioengineered weapons that tore through defenses like paper, and their soldiers, now stronger, faster, more resilient than ever before. It wasn't just about war anymore, it was about revenge. The galaxy burned, entire worlds went dark as the NIGMA swarmed over them, reclaiming the territory they had lost. The UTF fought back, but for every victory, the NIGMA seemed to grow stronger. The rest of the galactic community watched in horror, too terrified to intervene, remembering the fate of those who had once dared to challenge the humans. But the NIGMA were no longer afraid. "We're losing ground," Park said grimly as the latest casualty reports flashed across the screen. "They're hitting us faster than we can respond." Layla stood at the center of the command deck, her mind racing. She had seen wars, fought in battles, but this was different. This wasn't just a race for survival, this was a war of annihilation. "They've been preparing for this for years," she muttered. "We underestimated them." Park glanced at her, "And now?" A moment of silence passed between them before Layla's eyes hardened with resolve. "Nah, we do what humans do best. We fight back." The battle for NIGMA Prime was where it all ended. After weeks of relentless fighting, the UTF had tracked the NIGMA's main force to the heart of their old empire. It was a planet they had once thought destroyed, reduced to nothing more than ruins, but deep underground, the NIGMA had rebuilt. This was their last stronghold, the place from which they had launched their counterstrike against the galaxy. Layla's fleet descended upon NIGMA Prime with the full force of the UTF's military might. Dreadnoughts and carriers filled the skies, launching waves of fighters and ground forces. The NIGMA fought back fiercely, their advanced technology giving them the upper hand in many skirmishes, but the humans had something the NIGMA couldn't replicate: determination, tenacity, the refusal to give up, no matter the odds. Layla led the charge herself, her boots hitting the war-torn ground as she rallied her soldiers. They fought street by street, tunnel by tunnel, driving the NIGMA back into their hidden sanctuaries. The battle was brutal, with casualties mounting on both sides, but the humans pushed forward, inch by bloody inch. The final confrontation took place in the core of NIGMA Prime, in a massive underground chamber where the NIGMA's leaders had gathered for their last stand. Layla and her team broke through the final line of defenses, storming into the chamber with weapons drawn. There, standing in the center of the room, was the same NIGMA figure she had seen weeks before, one who had promised vengeance. You're too late, the NIGMA leader sneered, its voice cold and calculated. The galaxy will fall, and we will rise again. Layla stepped forward, her weapon trained on the creature. Mo, it ends here. The NIGMA leader laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the chamber. You think you've won? You think this will stop us? We will always rise. You cannot destroy what you don't understand. Layla didn't flinch. We warned you once not to mess with humans. You didn't listen. Without another word, she pulled the trigger. The NIGMA's defeat on NIGMA Prime marked the end of their resurgence. Without their leaders, the remaining forces scattered. Unable to continue the war, the UTF hunted down the remnants, but the galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity, though young in the cosmic scale, had proven that their resolve was unmatched. As Layla stood on the war-torn surface of NIGMA Prime, watching the last of the enemy's strongholds collapse, she couldn't help but reflect on the cost. The NIGMA had once been the most powerful force in the galaxy, and now they were truly extinct. But humanity had paid a heavy price for peace that would be remembered for generations. We warned them, she whispered to herself, looking up at the stars, and now they're gone. The war was over, but the memory of the NIGMA Empire would live on in the ashes of history, a stark reminder of the one truth the galaxy would never forget. Never mess with humans.